All right. Wonder if I'm actually live on YouTube right now. Hmm. I didn't even give it a name. That's the crazy part. Uh, Maybe I can check over here. I believe I am live. All right, cool. Well, 2 minutes in, I'm actually recording. I think I can be heard as well. I should be able to be heard. YouTube only shows me the analytics. So I'm going to just go with what I got right here and I'll edit it. Um, Whoever sees it, sees it. Whoever doesn't, good. And we'll kind of keep it that way. So, what's up? I'm Clarence Carter, and welcome to Discovering Wealth Strategies. I really want to do this the way that I want to do it. That's really the thing. So, I guess where I'll start is I'll start with my journey and kind of go from there and talk about my want and desire to discover different wealth strategies and what that can do for myself and my family and folks around. And yeah, man, I think it's some really cool stuff. So coming up on this whole venture that I'm wanting to do, this podcast, is I want to bring you all information that you otherwise might not have known. Um, Kind of shed some light on some things that how things work, right? Like how banking and certain finance things and concepts around life insurance and absolutely real estate. Um, I've really found that there's a lot of misconceptions of information that are out there. There's a lot of gurus that are making you pay out of your fucking ass just to give you nothing. Um, yeah, and I kind of want to give something else, give a little a different piece, right? Give a different face to it. Because a lot of things I've learned a lot, but I've been pissed off a lot too. We'll get into some of that stuff, but I promise to deliver you great, great, great information and not just complain about things. But if we do complain, we are complaining because we know that we can change those things. All right, we're agreeing. All right, cool. So, um, who am I to kind of kick it off there? It's I'm Mr. Carter. That's who I am. I am Mr. fucking Carter. Um, Graduated high school with a 1.3 GPA. I hated school. I tell you that because I just wasn't a good learner. I went to class and I thought I was a good kid. I didn't get in as much trouble as all the rest of my friends. I promise you I didn't. Um, Things were good. I had a great childhood. I absolutely had a great childhood. It's just I sucked in school. Didn't like the way work was required to be done. It was boring. It was this. It was that. Whatever, right? But always had a knack for wanting to do great things. And school just wasn't one of those. So after I graduated school, I figured college was a bust, right? That was not going to happen for me. It wasn't in my cards, wasn't meant to be. So I decided to go to the military. That was one thing, I grew up with my mom, my grandmother, and my aunt, and mostly in my ear, right? And what was taught to me was you either when you graduate, when you get out of here, you better damn graduate. And I did. You're either going to college or you're going to the military. That's just it. Those were my options. I didn't see anything else. And I told you, school sucked for me. So I didn't even attempt to go to college. I didn't take the SAT. I didn't take the ACT. I didn't take any of those things to try to go that route in any way, shape, or form. I went the military route. And I figured, hey, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do the best. And so I went to the Marine Corps. Absolutely loved, loved, loved their uniform. It was the I know that's weird to say, but it was definitely one of those things that attracted me. Right, my favorite colors are red and black. Um, that attracted me. Their uniform, the dress blues, absolutely loved them. When I was younger, I did do this thing called the Young Marines, and taught us how to march, taught us the different concepts that the military folks would use in certain things. And I wouldn't say I fell in love with it then, but I was familiar with it. And the guy was a former Marine. Well, once a Marine, always a Marine. So, but went to the Marine Corps. Did some. I absolutely loved boot camp. I was the number one guy in my platoon for quite some time, and things kind of blossomed from there. Right. I won't say I had the most wonderful Marine Corps career by any means. I kind of got into one of those areas of the Corps where I experienced. We all experienced all kinds of crap, right? But I did a lot of deployments. Did a lot of deployments. Spent a lot of time away from home, overseas, and when it was time for me to get out, I actually wanted to be a drill instructor. Wanted to be a drill instructor, and I wanted to go and train boys or even men to become Marines. That was like the pinnacle. That freaking thing, man. That freaking thing to do. Wearing that Smoky Bear for all of my Marines out there. Yeah, I have the utmost respect for those guys. I needed to, on my way out, I had a choice. Either stay with my current platoon, do another, my current unit, and do another deployment, and that would give me a year. So I left high school. I was like 17. I turned 18 at the end of boot camp when I went, and so I left when I graduated high school in June. Immediately, like 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, I went to boot camp. Didn't have the best. I could have been better in my career, right? Could have been better. Um, if I was older when I went in, then I would have been eligible to go to the drill field right away at my 4 years, but I wasn't. So I had to wait another year, gain some age, pick up rank, blah blah blah. I went ahead and tried my hands on the outside. Got out, got into technology, and first I was a diesel mechanic. I was a mechanic at the NASCAR Technical Institute in Mooresville, North Carolina. I was going there to study and prolong that career. Maybe I could get me a career in the pits or something like that with NASCAR. That slowly, quickly got on my fucking nerves, and I decided not to go that route anymore. I went ahead and got into computers. Um, I think around that time there was a lot going on. You know, technology was really advancing. Social media was taking off. Um, you know, startup companies were becoming unicorns overnight. It was amazing, and so I jumped on it. So I met a fellow veteran at the VA hospital, and this guy, he, just sitting there talking to me, he asked me if I wanted to learn the program because he takes care of him and his wife. Doing that, even though he had cataracts and he was really jacked up. He's a Vietnam vet, Agent Orange, all that good stuff. And I said, yeah. I said, yeah. And for the next 2 years or so, I would drive about an hour and 15 minutes to his house just about every other day. About every other day. Sit with him and his wife. They took me and my brother in, just like family. Learned how to build some websites here and there. Um, Make a little bit of money selling domain names if you're familiar with those. Yeah, it really got my feet wet. I got enrolled into a community tech college or whatever. I didn't learn shit. If you're thinking about going the technology route and wanting to program and stuff like that, I'd suggest you not do that. Just go do it on your own. There's a lot of free information out there. You don't need to spend 30, 40, $50,000 in college, 2 year college in order to learn those things. If anything, maybe do a boot camp. I'm not going to endorse any one of them specifically, but there's other ways around that. So I got into tech. I worked my way up. Did pretty good, and got into learning how startups worked and all kinds of stuff. Man, my first job, I didn't even know how to read code. Um, Not a lick, not a lick. And as a junior programmer, I was really good at doing this, right? So I may not seem like it now, but as I get comfortable, hopefully. But no, man. So I did that, worked my way up over years. When being in the Charlotte area, it's pretty hard to avoid the financial institutions, which I worked in pretty heavily, quite a few of them, and did some wonderful things. And then COVID, and right then was when I knew it was time to make a change. And I had gotten too comfortable. I've always been entrepreneurial in my heart. Where the reason why I wasn't doing good in that technical school was because everything we learned during the day, and I would take the information and stay up all night. I'd create ads on Craigslist and try to do what I learned in school that day. Um, I I made a little bit of cash, kept the lights on, put some ramen noodles on the table. It was those kind of days, but it didn't feel good at the time. But I grew a lot. So we go from there, and then we go into COVID, and then now it's like, all right, let's do another change. Let's do another change, and that was getting into real estate. And I'd been studying real estate for quite some time. Like I really had not in the sense of every day, um, but like I've read Think and Grow Rich, and then after that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that really changed things for me. That was a while ago, but I really started to understand the being an investor, making your money as an investor. There's something. It's not in the first Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Believe it's the second one where he talks about the quadrants. Talks about there's four different ways for anyone to make money. You either make money as an employee, self employed, as a business owner, or as an investor. Those are the 4 ways that people make money, at least in our country, right? So, and I can't think of any ways outside of that. You either got a boss, or you are the boss, or you own the whole damn thing, or you are investing money in that, and passive income is coming in and taking care of your lifestyle. And it's kind of about deciding where do you want to be. Those are the quadrants, right? Those are the 4 quadrants. So on one side you got the employee, and the self-employed. You're working, you're behind off, you're getting paid hourly, or salary. Your time is money, right? Your time is money. But then when you move over to the other side, and there's back on those, employee versus self-employed. I mean, all you're doing, going from being a employee and someone else bossing you around, to now you're an employee, and you're bossing yourself around, right? There's no real, I mean, it's no real difference. That's just it. Time is still equal to money. Now, when you go over to the other side, it's really interesting. As a business owner, right, and you act as a business owner, some people have that struggle to understand that distinction between self-employed and a business owner, where the business owner, we're talking something more larger, right? Something that's scaled, where you're hiring other people and leveraging their time, for your money, right? So, think about that as a business owner. Think about the shareholders, or the shareholders of those big publicly traded companies, right? They are just putting cash in and getting dividends, and taking cash out, right? Their value, their net worth is going up based on the money that they've invested, right? Or if you're investing in startup companies, think about those that invested in, Google or Uber, when they first started out, when they first did a raise, when they first started taking in investors' money, right? How much were they putting in? $100,000, $1 million or so. And then when they go public, they turn into $1 billion company, right? So that's one way to create massive, massive, massive wealth. Now that actually leads me to the fourth one, as an investor, right? As an investor, you can be that is literally just using your money to make more money, right? And that comes in the form of passive income, cash flow, right? So, Rich Dad Poor Dad always talks about cash flow. So, kind of gave you a little bit of me, and kind of some of the things that have driven me. But now, discovering wealth strategies, what I think is really, really, really just so important for people to understand. If you go back to that quadrant, um, depiction that I just put out there, yeah, if you really value your time, you really value your family, you really value these things, you're going to want to separate yourself from the time is money mentality to money is money mentality, right? Money is just money, and it creates more of it. I think Mr. Wonderful off of Shark Tank, he describes it, really, really, really good, where he calls, his bank account, the money that he has, each dollar is a soldier in his army. And what he does with his army is he deploys his military fleet, he deploys it so that they go and conquer other areas and bring back, right? I love that kind of analogy that he puts out there, and I think a lot of us should start to adapt that type of mindset. Well, where are you putting your money? Is your money only going towards being a consumer, or is your money going towards you being a producer, right? And that's when you can kind of create that cash flow. You can create what you want and you can do what the fuck you want to do with your life. Where you're not tied to a desk, you're not tied to a warehouse or what have you, and sucked away from your family some of the most golden years you can never have, right? When I had my son, here I was, being paid hourly, right? It sucked. It really sucked. Like, here he is, he's an infant, and I'm having to put him in daycare right away. That shit sucks. It really does. I think we should. I have the desire, um, to spend as much time as possible with my family, because otherwise, the rest of the world is raising them. And that's not cool. The world isn't known to produce the most productive people. It really isn't. It really isn't. Or the most caring or the most loving. Not at all. Not at all. So, if you have a whatever your desire is, right? Um, look towards being on that other side as a business owner and an investor, or an investor and a business owner, right? Where those are your primary sources of income. And then, yo, if you want to go and freaking mop the halls of of McDonald's or something, right? If that's what you want to do, then go do it. That's fine. But all of your bills are paid. Your family is taken care of. You're good to go. Go and do the things that you want to do in your life because you've set yourself apart and you've created yourself some financial independence. I think that's something that we should really be striving for. So, I really wanted to talk to you all about something really specific within real estate. So we're gonna go throughout this journey. You kick it with me. We are going to talk some stuff with real estate. We're going to talk single family. We're going to talk my love, multifamily. We're going to talk retail, office spaces. So we're gonna talk residential and we're going to talk commercial, right? And I'll explain those things. So give you a little bit of insight. Regular single family houses, it's just single family is residential, right? That's one component of real estate. But then we have the other component, and we're talking commercial real estate. And commercial real estate, we're talking office spaces, retail. That's your shopping centers, uh, multifamily. It's still residential, but when you go to the bank, you getting a commercial loan. That's commercial real estate, baby. Um, so and within there, right? So what and the distinction between the two, where single family houses where people live in them and they're residential, you got duplexes, you got triplexes, and you got quadplexes or whatever the hell they call them. Just call them quads. But your duplexes obviously is two units combined. A building combined. You got the triplex, which is three, all combined, right? You got three doors, three units in one little building, and then you got a quad, and that's four. Same stuff, right? The building gets bigger and bigger. Now, once you get to five units and up, that is when you go to the bank, instead of them giving you a residential loan, they'll give you a commercial loan, right? And the qualifications are much, much different on how you qualify for those things. So you can invest in real estate by buying a single family house and renting it out to someone, right? For 30 years, someone else is paying your rent. I mean, paying your mortgage, right? Through their rent. And you should be getting a spread in between. So let's say the mortgage is $1,000 a month, and in the area, it's commanding $2,000 a month for rent. So you get, you're paying your mortgage, which is principal, taxes, and insurance. We'll get into all of the specifics later, but just think about that simple math, right? If the mortgage is 1,000 and then we rent it out and we can get 2,000, you should be getting somewhere in the neck of woods of that other $1,000, right? Every stinking month. You're just taking their money, paying the mortgage, and keeping the rest. Yes, there's expenses, there's this, there's that. I'm going to teach you all how to break that stuff down. No, you're not going to get the entire $1,000 off of that example, but what we'll do is we'll kind of do some examinations on how what to expect as far as cash flow is concerned. So when you go for those, that's on the single family, duplexes, triplexes, and quads. That's the way when you go to the bank, they're going to look at that and say, okay, do you have the credit score? Do you have the income? And and a whole bunch of other things, right? Like they're going to look at all your crap, right? They want to see all of your specific stuff. You are responsible for all of this. You're responsible for this mortgage. Once you go over to the multi-family five and up side, the loans are done differently. Where now the yes, you do matter, right? Your credit score and your background, it does matter, but not as much. What matters is the income that the property brings in. So remember, same example. Mortgage is 1,000, but we're renting it for 2,000. That is what the bank is going to use. They're going to look at the P&L, basically a profit and loss statement. They want to see, okay, well, how much is this thing generating? And they're going to use there's a lot of different metrics, but one of the primary metrics that you know if you have a good deal or not is a DSCR, or debt service coverage ratio metric that basically just says how much money are you making over what you owe us in the mortgage? Plain and simple. And that number there will determine really heavily kind of where they need to, what other qualifications they need to look at, right? So if you are at a DSCR and it's, it starts at, well, it doesn't start, but you want it to be at a DSCR of one, means that it's a one for one match of how much money you're bringing in rent that is capable of going towards the mortgage because you got expenses before. So they're going to take into account all the expenses, insurance, taxes, all that kind of stuff. They're going to take all that stuff into consideration and say after all of those things are paid, here's the money that's left over. And a DSCR of one means that the money that's coming in is equal to the money that needs to be paid to the mortgage. So you want a DSCR, I think the minimum should be around like 1.25, where they want you to basically make 25% more, at a minimum, make 25% more than what the mortgage is going to cost you. That's when you know you got a deal. This makes sense. But if you can buy real estate at a great price, now you can get that DCR to two, right? Or even more. So there's a lot of different things, and we'll kind of go through that stuff. Everyone knows, all right, if you buy something and then you rent it out, you're gonna make the rent. Cool. That's definitely one way. But what I really wanted to talk to you all about today was mortgage notes, right? Same thing we just kind of talked about with the loans that they're going to give you, that mortgage. But if you really want to invest passively, one of the most overlooked ways to invest in real estate, and some of the most advanced people in real estate never even really talk about this. So I don't know if they really know it or not, but it's come across me, and I've learned it and have done a little bit of it myself and hope to do a whole lot more of it. That's called investing in notes, investing in mortgage notes, right? Where, and this is going to rock your world. So we're going to go through this. Uh, how do banks make money, right? Well, two of the ways that they make money is they make money off of the interest that they on the loans that they lent you, right? You want 10 grand, they're gonna give you 10 grand, and you got to pay them back 10% over whatever time period, right? You know that way. Um, but the other way, especially on the mortgages, right? On the mortgages, this is where they can make money faster, right? So you got a 30-year mortgage at 5%, right? Today, interest rates are everywhere, so I'm not even gonna, try to hone that in right now on what interest rates are today. But let's just use 5%. 5% interest rate over 30 years, right? You're basically paying double what you what you what you actually borrow, right? So you borrow 300 over 30 years, you're going to pay 600, right? That's just off of that interest that is accrued over time. So think about that. It's going to take them 30 years to, if you borrow 300, they're going to make another 300. It's going to take them 30 years to make that other 300, which is great, right? They've doubled, they've 100% in their returns, right? They're doing phenomenal. But it took 30 years to get there. But what we don't take into consideration is when those mortgages are started, when they're originated, which gets us into origination fees and all the other fees that are associated with starting the loan process, right? Doing the appraisals and everything, right? I'm pretty sure I don't know for a fact, but they have to go and get appraisals on the property, and that costs money. I'm pretty sure there's a markup there. I don't know what the number is. And I'm pretty sure it's different for every lender, but I'm pretty sure there's a markup on the appraisals when they do that. So what I'm saying is they make a lot of money up front, and not to mention the down payment too, right? You got to put down some money, right? You're getting a conventional loan. What are you putting down? 10, 20%, maybe more sometimes on investment properties. On investment properties, they are around 25%, can even be 30%, right? I've actually even seen some at larger numbers during this crazy interest rate environment that we're in right now, where they're wanting more of a 40% down payment. So it's not, they're bringing in some cash, right? But here's the thing: they make the origination fees, they get your down payment, they get all of this, they get all that, right? Um, Now they got this loan that they're stuck with for 5, 7, 10, 30 years, right? Well, I'm sure a lot of people can attest to this that have bought their single family houses over the last at least 20 years or so that I know of, is sometimes maybe like after you've paid 1 month mortgage, or maybe not even paid a month mortgage, you got your bank with one bank, and then all of a sudden you get a something in the mail that says, hey, um, no worries to you. You don't need to make any changes, except for where we told you to send the payments at first. You're now going to send the payments here to a different place. Your loan is now being serviced by a different company, right? How the heck does that work? Like, I did all of this work to get the loan from you, Bank One, and then not even a month into me having this house, I'm having to pay Bank Two from now on. What? Y'all just got rid of me just like that? So what it is they've made the money on the originations. There's a couple different types of banks, right? Some of them they focus on originations, and some of them focus on that long term debt, right? But there's also ways that you can get into that, and you can be the one that buys the mortgage note from the bank and take in that 5% over 30 years. Remember what we said. That 5% over 30 years was actually double. And that 300, they actually be paying, 600 or even more, maybe a little less, right? Depends on the interest rate. So, what does that look like? What if you could do that? And I can tell you right now, it's possible. You can do it, and you can do it right now. People are doing it every freaking day. You are investing in notes. It's called note investing. Take that information and go and Google. There's a little green book. I think it's called the little green book on note investing or something like that. I don't know. It's green and it says note investing. Go get it. I can't think of the name of it. Maybe I'll bring it back. But essentially, you can take whatever funds you have and you can go and buy someone's mortgage. People do it all the time. Other banks are doing it all the time, right? And here's where things can really get interesting is you can buy there's non-performing notes and there's performing notes. I'm pretty sure you can kind of guess to which one is which. A performing note is someone they're getting their monthly statement in the mail or online, nothing. They're just paying it and there's no interaction back and forth with the bank besides you paying it. And if you're on auto pay, shit, you didn't automated it, right? There's no interaction whatsoever. But then there's the non-performing side, which is when you're someone is not paying their mortgage. So the value of these things are pretty much based on if they're performing and if they're not. Oh, and a couple of other things. There's definitely a lot of other things that kind of come into play. But when let's say that same $300,000 mortgage, let's say it's only 250 left on it now, right? There's 250,000 left on it. Maybe someone could buy that for I don't know, and these things are negotiable too. They're very negotiable. um, the holder could say, we've made so much interest on that other 50,000 because it was originally 300. Now it's only 250 left. Remember, they made the percentage, right? So they could say, we'll take 220 for it, or even less. Right? They could do that. That's when it's performing and everything. But what happens when it's non-performing? What happens when you get your loan is sitting with a bank that doesn't have a call center to constantly call you and remind you, hey, it's time for you to pay. Hey, we're about to put you in default. Excuse me. Hey, um, yo, we're about to put you up for auction. Hey, we're about to foreclose on you and this and that, right? What happens when they don't have that infrastructure or the employees to call you? Well, they haven't invested the money into their business to constantly send you out those letters, right? All that postage money, right? What happens if they don't do that? Happens all the time because a lot of them don't focus on that. So you now are a non-performing note. Well, that same note we thought, was originally around, 250, and if it was performing, we could have got it for 220, possibly, right? But now that it's non-performing, how desperate is this bank to get at least some of that money back? Depends on how long they've held it too, right? How long have they held on to it? How much interest have they already made off of it versus how much is left, right? They could say, you know what? Take this $250,000 mortgage and just pay us 100. You just got a $250,000 mortgage note for $100,000. And you're probably thinking, CJ, who the heck you think you're talking to that got 100 grand? I'll show you how you got 100 grand. to the people that I'm talking to. I'll show you how. A lot of people don't know this. But so you can go and buy that thing, and then you can do what's called as a loan modification, right? You take over it, you hire a servicer. Now you're acting as a business owner, right? You're acting as a business owner and an investor, technically, because the investor is kind of just like completely hands off. This is it's hands off, but you kind of can make if you go on the performing side, it's completely hands off, right? You just hire a servicing company, and it's pennies on the dollar on what they charge. So it's very very worth it. And you kind of just sit back like a fat cat and collect. um, Now, when it's non-performing, you've got some decisions to make as a business owner. Because what can you do now? This thing is non-performing. They're not paying their mortgage. Well, let's go in and before we buy it, let's go in and find out what the situation is. As much as information as we can get. There could be that they've fallen on hard times. Someone was laid off in the family. They can't come up with the mortgage. So they are, in a bind. They're in a bind. Well, what are you going to do? You may have the opportunity to do a loan modification for them, and I think it's a trifecta win situation, a win-win-win situation, where you can take this thing over for 100 grand, and then you modify it to where if they're in arrears $10,000, yo, put that $10,000 on the end of the loan, and then basically it's like doing a refinance, and they start their loan all over, another 30 years or so, right? Now you're getting that interest. You restarted that loan for 30 more years. And you also shrink their payment too, right? That's how you're able to stretch it out for 30 years because you brought down their monthly payment. Maybe they couldn't afford $2,000 mortgage, but they could afford $1,000 mortgage or maybe a $1,500 mortgage, right? They could afford that. That's more reasonable for them. So, what do? You take everything that they owe that they're in the one behind on, put it on the back of the mortgage, and then stretch out the mortgage payments where they've probably already been in the house for 5 years. They had 25 years left. Well, you stretched it out, it's back to 30 years. But guess what you've done? You saved the bank. You saved the bank because the bank is like, yo, I can't lend out no more money. And if I can't lend out no more money, I can't make money. Right? The banks can't make money, then that means the economy just is clogged up, right? That's just it. That's why the banks are the banks. And they need to be moving. They need to be flowing. They need to be flowing. You kind of get where I'm going with this, right? They can't be clogged up. So what you're doing is you're helping the economy out. You're helping that bank out. You're helping them by releasing that hold on that money that they can be lending out to someone else, right? And making their money, and then also giving someone else an opportunity to buy a house or to buy a business. We can get into that too. We'll definitely be talking about that in discovering wealth strategies, is buying businesses. But let's stay on topic here. We so what are we doing? We just helped the bank out by unclogging their situation so that they can lend more money. We helped out our homeowner because now they're able to make reasonable payments. And what did that do? They're able to make reasonable payments, and we put what they owed in the back. So they don't owe anything. They don't owe a large sum of cash to us today, right? They probably got smiles on their faces. That's a win. You created a win for unclogging the bank. That's a win. And then for you, you now have a performing note. You converted a non performing to a performing note where the bank should have took around 250, 220 for it. They gave it to you for 100. Well, now it's performing, and guess what it's valued at? That's right. Ding, ding, ding. It's valued back up to like the 250, 220 mark. It is. And now what are you going to do? You can sit and be the fat cat and be the investor. Depends on where you are in your journey, right? Depends on where you are. You can sit back and collect those checks. That mortgage is coming to you. Fantastic. Or you can sell it. You bought it for 100 and now you can sell it for 220, 250. You just made over 100 grand by flipping paper. Do you see what I'm saying about the quadrants now? Where you can make money. And the banks, that's all they do. They make money, make money. That's it. Study the banks. Study the banks. Go to your local bank, go to your local credit union, and ask them how the hell do they make money. Tell them you want to make money with them. And then kind of go from there, right? Just Google around. I'm not saying go in there and be an idiot or anything like that, but if you know anyone that knows how the banks really work, and it sucks because not all bank tellers even know what I just told you. They don't even know about it. There are people in the bank that are doing collections and everything, and they don't even know how the damn bank makes money. If you're employed and you don't know how the company you're employed by makes money, there's a fucking problem. You need to figure that out. In this discovery mode, I don't know if I didn't tell you throughout my story, but each and every place that I went to, one thing that I was very curious about was how each company made their money. I wanted to know, right? I wanted to know how the heck did they make money. I remember this one guy, man. He owned this company, and was a CEO, and he was doing very very well for himself. He was a NASCAR guy and had him like a fantastic car collection. Would drive those things into work. He let me sit in I think it was a 1967 Mustang, I believe, or what was that? I don't know what it was. It was back in the 60s. It was something. I'm not a collector. I don't know nothing about cars. I'm not even going to pretend to fucking know. I just know that the damn thing was expensive and it was an antique, and whoo, he let me sit in it, and he had the biggest smile on his face. I was like, man, like this is an expensive car here. And yeah, like he built that business even though he was still working as a CEO. He was also a large shareholder in that business, and making money come into him, right? Like once I saw what he had, I was like, man, I need to know what the hell this company does. Like, who the hell they doing business with? And it was really cool. Yeah, it was really cool. We could talk about it later, but they were kind of like a Home Depot for commercial real estate, or just even bigger things as well. It was really cool. So yeah, now you're up on notes. Now you're up on investing. And the thing is you're like, yo, Mr. Carter, come on, man. How the heck am I supposed to get into that? You said 100 grand. There are some notes out there. You don't necessarily have to buy only mortgage notes. You can buy freaking personal loan notes. You could buy airplane notes and helicopter notes and all kinds of stuff. Anything that somebody can get a loan on, the banks are probably selling those loans off because, and don't quote me, not every bank works like this, but a lot of banks work like they can lend up to 9 or 10% of the amount of money that is held within their bank accounts. And That right there, once, and that's the limit, right? That is the limit that they can loan out. And so now they need that money to kind of come back in. They need that money to come back in order for them to continue to lend out. And again, that drives the freaking economy. So, how do you do this? Do you have a retirement account, a 401k, or, 403b, or any of those things? When's the last time you checked it? When's the last time you looked at how they're investing your money? Did you ever think of investing that money yourself? I know I have. Um, how the heck do I do that? Especially those that have been working for 10, 15 years. How much money have you saved in those retirement accounts? Probably quite a bit. And you've had a match and all kinds of things. And I know that times are different now. Whereas my mom, she was able to retire after 42 years of service at one particular place. That just ain't gonna happen for us. It's not. Shit, I done been in, I don't know how many jobs, I can't even count how many jobs I done been in already, and I'm only 30 freaking 7, right? I've got some time in. I've got 30 years left. And the way I plan on going, thinking like this, I have an I'm not quitting. I'm not retiring it. I'm not retiring for shit. If I could use money to make money, yo, I'm always going to be saying, how can I move this and put this there and move this and put that there? That's what I'm going to do, right? So, what I want you to do is go and take a look at your current retirement account. See how much money's in there. See how much money's in there. See how much money you lost in the stock market. See how much money you gained over the years, right? But now I want you to think and do the average. How much money is it making every year? That's the real kicker, is how much money is your retirement account that they are investing for you? How much money is it making every year? And then I want you to call and I want you to understand the fees. Yeah, yeah. I have a strong, strong, strong belief, um, that there's we could be we could be retiring with so much more money if it wasn't for all of the fees that these large institutions charge to govern your ret- retirement account, to make the choices and this and that. Hey, I ain't gonna knock it, man. They doing it. They doing it. They build a business that works. But I tell you this, it works because you're not even giving it any attention. That's the reason why the retirement game is killing it. That's why those large financial institutions, they're in business for years and years and years. Why? Because your ass refuses to look at your retirement account until it's time for you to retire. That's just it. So where I was going with us, right? Us at younger ages right now, we're not able to, stay at places like 40 some odd years anymore, right? Layoffs and XYZ, all that kind of stuff. Um, there comes a time when those funds in your retirement account become vested and they become yours. So when you leave that company or that company gets rid of you and this and that, that money is yours. 9 times out of 10, if you're still working at the company, you cannot necessarily govern what to do with that money. You can't roll that money over or roll it out of that current custodian's, um that governor, basically, right? You can't roll it out. You can't take the money out of that account and move it over somewhere else without it being like a withdrawal or a loan or something like that. We're not talking about that kind of shit. We're talking about you controlling all the money, not taking a loan, not taking a withdrawal, actually governing that money. So what it's called is you wouldn't be able to do that in a 401k. What you would do is you would roll over the money from your 401k to what's called a self-directed IRA, SDIRA. Go and Google it. There's quite a few companies that do it, um, and they provide a lot of things. And I want you to go and look at the fees associated with an SDIRA versus the fees that are associated with your fucking 401k, especially when you've left the company and there's no more money going into it and it's just them investing the money. I want you to take a look at the damn fees, right? And it varies. It really, really, really varies. But I'm looking for this book. I think it was Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game. Read that book. Skim through it. Go get the summary of it. He wrote that book with an actual I think it was the guy from Vanguard. I think or yeah, I think it was the guy from Vanguard. He wrote that co-authored that book with that guy, and he talk about the fees. They talk about them. How 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 lucrative that business is for them. They don't even need to fucking perform. They're like the weathermen. They're like the freaking meteorologists. Hey, it's gonna be sunny today, and then it's freaking dark, rainy, and cold. Like, whoa, dude, what the heck? um, but at the end of the day, that meteorologist gets paid. Same thing with your retirement account. Like, hey, you're gonna do good this year. Oh man, the government decided to do this, and it busted the stock market open, and so there's nothing really we could do. But you're still paying them fees. We could be if it wasn't for all of those fees, we could be retiring with millions and millions of dollars. We all could. We all could. That's how. And the fees are very small. They look really small. 1%, 2%, 5%, right? Um, but then you need to ask yourself, is that over the lifetime of this? Or is this annually? Or is this monthly? Right? Starts to really, really, really change things. So I challenge you to go and take a look at your situation, especially if you're my age, 35, 36, 37. You've been in the game for a little while now. You've been in the game for a little while. You've made a good amount of money over this time, putting it over into your 401k, and especially if you're sending more money into your 401k. Oh my gosh, just to get the tax benefits. Yeah, look, I want you to take a look at it, and then I want you to go over to a company that has SDIRAs and see what their fees are. Right, about about $300 a year. That's like the standard. But I want you to go and look. And if you got freaking $1 million in your freaking retirement account and they're charging you, 2%, what is that? Right? And they're like 20 grand versus and the average stock market return year over year is about 7%, right? Well, that's average, right? This is 2022 that I'm in right now. It's a pretty shitty year, just to let you know. It ain't returning no 7%. Um, but what if you knew the right investments to do? What if you bought one of those mortgage notes that I talked about? And maybe you got one that was 7%. Maybe you got one that was 10% interest, right? What if, right? And that is a stable investment. A little bit more stable. They're going to tell you it's more risky. Yeah, whatever. But this mortgage is also protected by the real estate itself, right? So that same $300,000 mortgage that we got, right? In 5 years, what is that house going to be worth, right? What if the house worth 350? What if it's worth 400? What if it's worth 500, right? It's going to continue to go up, right? It's the natural progression of real estate that we've seen throughout time. It always goes up. The stock market too, but it has some low lows. Real estate not as much, not as much. But I'm getting beside the point. The point is that you now have a mortgage that is secured by an asset that is worth more than they actually owe. So if something happens, guess what? It's much, much, much easier for you to get your money back, to get your money out of that deal. That's just it. So that's what I want you to do. That's your homework. Your homework today is to go and study up on your current financial situation, your retirement account, and see how are you doing? How are you performing? How have you performed over the last 3 years during COVID? How have you performed over the last 10 years, prior to COVID or whatever, right? Go back as long as you can and see how have you progressed, especially if you're in your 50s, right? If you're in your 50s, yo, take a look, see what's happened, right? And over time, if you've been working 20 years or so, I can guarantee, I can't guarantee it, but if you haven't been taking loans and withdrawals and all of that kind of stuff, and you've just been feeding your retirement account, you should be sitting um, a whole lot higher than $10, right? Uh, so take a look at that. And now you are empowered with the information of the SDIRA. It is also known as the rich man's bank account, SDIRA, because now you can roll those funds over from a retirement account into a retirement account. And now you're able to select a wide, very wide range of assets that you like to invest in. And I can tell you this, um, I'm not gonna give you any percentages and this and that, right? But when you're investing in real estate, where you buy at the price point that you buy at can largely versus the value, right? Where you buy it at versus the actual value of it can really determine and drive your returns. So if you found someone that found a deal that could, they could buy for 50% of the actual value, you can give them a loan. You can give them a loan. You can become a bank. Your retirement account can become the bank. And now you charge the interest. You collect the interest. You set the terms. You set the terms, right? You can do that. You can become a hard money lender. A lot of hard money lenders, a lot of them, a lot of their funds that they're lending from are actually from retirement accounts. Folks will move their retirement accounts over into a hard money fund, and all that hard money lender does is lend out other people's retirement dollars and gets back crazy percentages, right? Hard money should cost you about 10, 12, 15%, maybe even more, right? Did you hear that? 10, 12, 15%, even more. Go check the hard money loans. Go check them. Though a lot of those are funded by retirement accounts. I wonder what kind of returns those retirement accounts are getting. Oh my gosh. All right. That's enough for today. I think we've talked quite a bit. If you got any questions, comments, or concerns, I think I've talked for like an hour. Shit. Um, Yo, hit me up. Hit me up, Mr. Carter, Clarence Carter on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, and yeah, just I love this conversation about real estate. I love the conversation about mortgage notes. I love all of this stuff. I'm a geek. Let's talk about it. I I always want to break these things down to their simplest form so that everyone can understand it because a lot of this information has been hidden in plain sight. So I'm not going to necessarily say that people have been trying to keep it away from us and XYZ, but I will tell you this. Um, a lot of those freaking MBAs, Harvard grads, and XYZ, they using all of these words and they taking 10 pages to break certain things down and this and that. Well, I challenge you to not be intimidated by that because a lot of that stuff is just fluff. It's just a bunch of words. It's just a bunch of words, and you can literally break a lot of those things down into their simplest form. I can't remember who it was, but they said true intelligence. True intelligence is actually based on being able to take complex ideas and breaking them down to their simplest form. Taking complex ideas and breaking them down to their simplest form. That is an intelligent person, not a person that can, throw all these different terms and speak all the jargon or whatever. Nah, man. They're 9 times out of 10, those motherfuckers are in the E column. Okay? I'll just put it, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. 9 times out of 10, that the people that try to tell you about this stuff or whatever, and use all these words that no one can understand except for a small few, they're fucking employees. Because the true ones, the true intelligent ones, yo, they too busy wanting to be with their family and live their life. So they've broken these things down into very, very, very small concepts so that they can teach their kids. That's how you build generational wealth. You want to build generational wealth, start teaching your kids young. You're not going to use terminology like, uh, quantified equity and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. You're not going to use that with them. You're going to tell them, hey, 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? The concepts are just that doggone simple. Mortgage notes. Read up on them. Go and get the green book. And remember what I said. You don't have to invest necessarily in real estate. You can invest in the mortgages that are supported by real estate. And that can become some passive, true passive income. But I've said enough. Again, hit me up. I'm always open, down to talk at any point in time.